Hello, everyone, and welcome to the debut episode of 18-Minute Experts, the podcast that dives into the minds of industry leaders in the dynamic world of group benefits. I'm your host, Jeff Bremner, and today I'm joined by a couple of seasoned experts who are ready to share their knowledge and insights on the topic of advisor best practices. But before we jump into the conversation, a quick shout out to our listeners. If you enjoy the content, please be sure to smash that subscribe button on Spotify or YouTube for upcoming episode reminders. You can also catch us at www.peoplecorporation.com/18minexperts. That's 18min experts. And hey, please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback fuels our journey to deliver you the best content possible. Now grab your headphones, buckle up, and get ready to set sail with us on this 18-minute tour. Dave, Sarah, thanks for joining me today. Why don't we start by telling the audience a little bit about yourselves?
Hi, I'm Dave Patriarche of Mainstay Insurance Brokerage. I've been a benefits advisor specializing in group insurance for almost 28 years. And about 20 years ago, I started Canadian Group Insurance Brokers, an association dedicated to the education of advisors in the employee benefits space.
Hi, I'm Sarah Becker. I'm a group benefits consultant with over 20 years industry experience. I now work with Burrell & Company supporting Canadians living healthy, productive lives.
Amazing. You guys ready to get started? Have a little fun?
Good to go.
Absolutely.
So, Dave, let's start with you. You've had a tremendous career in the industry. You've obviously devoted a lot of time to helping less experienced group insurance advisors hone their craft. For advisors who are newer to group benefits, what strategies or approaches have been most effective for you in acquiring and retaining group insurance clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that you start with learning, and when you're new to the business, you get as much information from as many sources as you can. So I've had mentors in the business. I've bugged every insurance company and TPA to attend their events and kind of be a sponge for learning. And the more you know, the more you can share with clients, and that really kind of helps to raise your knowledge kind of in the acquisition side of things. I don't know if there's a special one way that just works in acquiring. In my case, I phoned every business in the phone book. I mean, the real, white pages, and called and asked them about benefits and if they were happy and so on. Others do different kinds of marketing, but I think you have to be fairly aggressive in getting out there and getting your name out there and making contacts. But secondly, I think making connections with people like HR and bookkeeping, maybe lawyers and accountants as well, can be a great way of referrals, and that can help to build your business. But what you have to do is give to them first. So give them referrals, help to educate them, and then they can help pass people along when they feel comfortable. On the retention side, I've worked mainly around keeping my clients safe and reducing risk. So I built a thing called the Plan Administrator Checklist about 25 years ago, and it's just become an ongoing part of the education cycle with clients. So keep them very educated, keep them up on things, and they tend to stick around longer. Sarah, what have you been doing?
I'm going to piggyback right on a lot of what you said. It's all very, very true that you want to approach this being a continual learner, want to approach it not only just learning about the industry, which is obviously critically important in providing information to your clients, but getting to know your clients, getting to know the sector, getting to know what their challenges are and what's keeping them up at night. And maybe that, involves stepping a little bit outside of group benefits and sharing ideas that you've heard from, industry peers of theirs have gone a long way. I've in fact found when we're talking about, going out and securing new clients, that definitely does lend itself to the opportunity to get referrals, but it also makes you a subject matter expert in their field. And so when there are association events or you talked about HR connections, they're keen to invite you to speak at these events, making deeper, richer connections. And of course, from a retention standpoint, if you are continually learning, continually helping them adapt and grow, it creates a synergy that they're not eager to give up. And so from that perspective, I've definitely found that if you are the continual learner, and as you said, Dave, constantly giving back and sharing with them and approaching it from, wanting to truly be a partner to them, then it's going to make finding business much easier and retaining business much, much easier.
So, continuous learning, networking, relationship building have been really, really important to sort of both of your approaches. What are some common pitfalls that a lot of new advisors would encounter in this business?
I'm happy to
Sure.
jump on that one. I feel as though, and I've said this to many, many people, the number one thing you should not do is attempt to be everything to everybody. Oftentimes when people get into this industry, they try and do it all, and there's just no possible way. You cannot know everything about everyone at all times, and so it's really important to just be your genuine self. And I find that what that does is it invites people into your space that are then more keen to make referrals to individuals who are looking specifically for somebody like you, rather than expending the time and energy. It is exhausting. Trying to not be authentic. And so if I could give anybody a pitfall, it's starting out your career and thinking that you want to bend yourself to do that.
I 100% agree. I think that I look at too many people that try and be generalists, and I know you're hungry when you start, and I know every case matters, and you got to pay the bills and things like that. But when you start to segment, to specialize, just like Sarah said, the world starts to build a path to your door. You do become a subject matter expert, and it really makes all the difference in the world. So saying no to things that aren't your specialty and connecting with people that you can pass it off to, and vice versa, can be a great way to kind of avoid the problems and avoid things like your website that looks like everybody else's. We do everything, and if you were looking for a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, one of the professions, you would pick somebody very specialized, and that's what happens here too.
Okay, great answers, guys. Thanks so much for that. Sarah, as someone who manages clients of all sizes, but has a particularly large presence in the mid market space, how do you stay current on the various products and solutions that exist? I mean, there's so many out there. And what factors do you consider when making custom recommendations to clients and prospects?
Absolutely. So yes, we talk about the relationships, of course, with our clients, and I think that that is key. But the secondary piece to that is making sure that we have rich, meaningful relationships with our account executives or our contacts at the insurance company level, because they are the people who are bringing some of these, new products and new solutions out to market, and you want to make sure you're getting a head start on finding out what some of those are. But then, secondly, you want to make sure again that you know your client and you know what their needs and their challenges are. So I tend to work not predominantly or exclusively, but a large portion of my clients happen to be in not-for-profit. And one of the challenges that they frequently encounter is it is an industry segment that has high hit disability claims. Therefore, some of the major insurance companies are a little bit shy of that. So I've had to build relationships with specialty disability carriers, which means I might be going into a client and proposing the idea that we split off the disability, or we build in some ancillary benefits that might look a little different than what they're traditionally used to. And that's going to come back. Those recommendations are going to come back to knowing my client and what they're going to be able to handle from a bandwidth perspective, because of course there are challenges to having multiple different carriers. It's extra communication, extra administration. Of course, we try and ease that as much as possible through technology solutions and partners, and supporting them with that communication. But it is super important to understand and know the client, know the challenges they're experiencing, but then we're able to segment and bring solutions to them that really give them the best outcome at the best price, which for many of them they really, really appreciate.
Sarah, if I can just expand upon that for a second. You talked a lot about knowing your client. Every client's going to have very unique needs and different priorities. How do you assess that when beginning to tailor recommendations for clients? Like, what's the process that you go through from a sort of a due diligence perspective or a fact finding perspective to assess those unique needs?
Yeah. Um, and I don't even know that it's a process so much as you just approach them with an open mind. Be curious. Um, Always be asking questions, and ask them, what is your philosophy? What is your number one goal? Why do you want to offer benefits to your staff? What is it you're hoping to achieve with it? What is your bandwidth? Do you have enough time to do XYZ, or do you want to have this be the most slick, fast, easy? You put it out there, we communicate it, and then we check it over every year. What do you need from us? How often do you want to hear from us? And so It's not so much a fact-finding mission, it's just having genuine open conversations with them and understanding, or having them understand what it is you're trying to accomplish so that you can bring the ideal solutions to them. The people that we're speaking to, whether it's, the president of the company, the finance manager, directors of HR, they're extremely busy. And so they don't want to have to spend time um, turning down solutions that you're bringing to them. They would far prefer to invest, a couple of meetings with you, getting to know them, getting to understand them, and then from there knowing that the solutions you're bringing to them will actually make sense. I'm also a believer, and I've got a few examples I can think of where I've learned my lesson. My job as a consultant is not to give them one solution and say, you have to do this. My job is to bring them 2 or 3, maybe even 4, depending on the situation, solutions to them so that we can work in concert, that I've empowered them to make decisions that they then feel confident in. But that starts with me knowing that client so that they have the confidence in knowing that my recommendations and my solutions actually make sense.
Right. Dave, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so the first question of like kind of how do you understand and learn all the different products out there? You can't, and you kind of got to accept that. There's about 23 insurance companies in Canada, and I have a list of 75 or so TPAs that have reached out to me directly over the years. So we got around 100, at least 100 different suppliers that can do some or all of everything, all with their own different twists and nuances and specifics that they build out to. So you're never going to know it all. But having a good cross-sectional idea of everything from maybe health spending accounts to insured to ASO to hybrid plans, having sources for all those different things is a good part. So you got to kind of learn and partner up. As Sarah said, the relationships with account executives with insurance companies or TPAs is huge. And the best thing you can do is just kind of reach out, learn more. And when I first got in the business, every time I would lose a client or lose a prospect to another advisor, I'd always ask kind of who they went with. And if it wasn't somebody that I had worked with, I would go and find out more about that company to find out what was it
Oh,
that they
interesting.
offered that was more attractive or whatever. So yeah, that was a good way to kind of go, okay, I'm going to add them to my list. I've lost too many head to heads or whatever at the time, so that helped. And then when you make recommendations, I tend to work in the small mid-sized market, kind of a little bit below Sarah's. So I tend to be a little bit more guiding. So for example, this morning I have a call with an employer in the US that's just starting up in Canada. So knows nothing about the Canadian marketplace, HR, legal, nothing. And we're going to kind of guide them to, here's a traditional plan, maybe here's a hybrid, and try and really make it simple. Because, again, as Sarah mentioned, having too many options and wasting time doesn't help anybody. They're just like, tell me what we need to do to check off the box of we have a benefit plan. So it comes down to, and I think Sarah covered this really well, ask the questions, listen to your clients, guide them based on what their responses are, and just continue to educate them through the whole process.
And there you have it, folks. Our first episode of 18-Minute Experts is in the books. Remember, the insights shared here are just the beginning of our journey together. To stay updated on future episodes, hit that subscribe button on Spotify or YouTube. When it comes to navigating the complexities of group benefits, knowledge is power. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay empowered. Until next time.